Recency bias is real. Yeah, exactly. Everyone looks at the most recent match and like, wow, Clem just can't beat Zerg. You see, Dai can't even beat Korean players. That's just a silly way to look at it, right? Trap versus Serral. Let's actually talk about the match at hand. Wow, what a matchup this is. What a PvZ we've got on the table for you right now. I mean, this is just a fantastic series, right? It is meant to be the best, one of the best Zergs, especially ZvP-wise. Serral ZvP floundered recently by Zest, but then did you see how he bounced back against Zaun? Jeez, guys, like, you know, for someone who just lost a series against Zest and we're like, oh no, Serral can't even beat Korean Protoss anymore. And then he's like, oh, Zaun, you've just, you know, got the finals of GSL Super Tournament twice in a row. You beat Dark and Rogue a bunch of times. Smash, smash, smash. What? You're in my game? No, you're not. That's the kind of attitude Serral showed up with in those games. So, yeah, after seeing that, you know, if I hadn't seen that Zaun series, I would have been like, well, maybe Serral is a little bit faltering in this matchup. But watching that Zaun series, I'm like, oh, gold. Trap, what the hell are you going to do against this guy? You know, if he turns it up to monster mode again today, then yeah, I think we're in for a very good series. Last time they played, it was a 4-3 to Trap, right? And he won the season finals or something? Or the last chance event, was that it? Yeah. What on earth is it that Serral makes Serral a lot more talked about for ZvP compared to other Protoss? What is he doing different? You know, I mean Zerg, but I mean, he's winning. Like, it's his win rate. What is he doing to get that win rate? He's just good at the matchup, right? Like, there's no secret trick. There's no, like, secret cheat code. He's just all around good. He's doing all sorts of things. He's real. I think the big thing is Serral is extremely comfortable late game, though. Right? He is super, super comfortable in the late game. So if you get Serral to a point where a lot of other Zergs are like, oh, I'm a little bit uneasy here. I don't quite want to be in this position in the game. Serral's like, no, I love this. I thrive for this. And that's what a lot of Protoss have had success with the top Zergs on. You know, you see people like Raynor, you know, going up against some of these Protoss players, and the air army comes out, and Raynor just kind of doesn't quite have it. He doesn't quite have the units ready at the right time. That doesn't happen with Serral. He's so good at that sort of, he's so good at that sort of late game, and obviously understanding the mid and early game very well too. So, yeah, no, I think it's, I mean, his win rate just speaks for itself, right? And you can then look into the games and see what he does, but I think all around his ZvP has just been so freaking solid lately. And not just lately, but over, you know, however many months it's been now that 90% plus win rate has been going on for. It's just the one matchup where, and maybe some of that, like, at first I thought some of that might just be, well, out of the players in Europe to compete with him, Protoss, it's like Showtime, who's maybe not at the highest right now. Like, he's maybe on a little bit of a slump just because he's a bit inconsistent. And then you've got, like, Raynor and Clem challenge him in ZvZ, but then he does come out and beat the Koreans in ZvP. So let's see what he comes up with today. Trap, of course, we know he's fantastic. And already starting with an Oracle Open, I expect Trap to come out with a bunch of different builds in this best of 5. Don't expect him to just play Oracles every game or Void Rays every game. This should be a whole bunch of different stuff as the series progresses. I expect to see some Twilight Council and Glaives at some stage as well. Let's see what we get out of this. If you guys enjoy... sorry, well, that's the wrong sell I was quickly going to do. I just wanted to quickly mention, as this one will go up on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, it means a lot of you enjoy the video, that you like it, and you subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a whole bunch. It helps more people watch these awesome games of StarCraft. So if you get a chance, if you're on the YouTube video, please consider doing that. Maybe not now, but remember to do it at the end if you did end up liking it. Give it a like, and sub to the channel if you don't already. Right, let's dive into this game. 4 minutes in, pretty standard opening. Lings are out to defend against the couple of Adepts. The Oracle has not really found any damage early, and Trap is just saying, cool, I'm going to go to a third Nexus and just play a nice standard game of PvZ at the moment, right? 3 bases. This Overlord going to get high ground, but then the Oracle is there to give high ground vision back. So Serral will lose this Overlord. But buys a moment or two longer where maybe you don't get supply blocked, right? Makes up just a moment or two. You never know when that might make the difference, right? And outside of that, just a Twilight and a Forge now coming up from Traps to 2 Oracles into a Ground Army. This is like the old standard of PvZ, right? You're not going into like a massive air units. It's not triple Oracle. It's pretty quick into Twilight and a Forge, which sometimes you can even see. No Robo, mind you. So not like an Archon drop follow. More likely to be something like a Blink and +1 or even just Charge. I mean, no Robo at all actually is very interesting as we add on Gates as well. Yeah, blink and +1. That's what it means when you don't see that Robo facility. So, We are going to be getting Blink and +1 rather than a robot. So this isn't quite super old school. Like, the opening is kind of older school. The follow-up is something of the newer brand of PvZ, where we have seen these Blink styles be successful and actually have some fairly decent success. Let's see what Trap can do. 6 drones went down to these oracles, and I don't know if there was a couple more adepts there. But yeah, Trap actually finding some additional damage, and Serral down on workers as he's just making roaches. He's going to go. The thing about Oracle openings, they are super, super weak to Queen Walks, because you just don't have the Void Ray count continue to build up, etc., etc. You just fall to a moment of weakness here, and let's see what these Queens can do as these Oracles. We'll see them coming. Trap knows now what's coming his way. Serral's going to go up this ramp between the bases too. He's going to give himself the option. I can fight on the third, or I can fight on your natural, depending which is better for me. And that makes it very difficult for Trap to have the right amount of defenses anywhere. Because, of course, how can you defend both locations? You can't realistically just build masses of batteries and cannons in both places. That's just not feasible. So, as Serral comes across the map with this Queen Walk, now I already feel in trouble for Trap because he just doesn't know about it soon enough, right? I mean, this battery is full of energy, and now it's depowered. And that's just it. There's no stack defense ready to go on this base. There's no units out at all. This Oracle in the Blink play just does not get it done against a Queen Walk, and Serral makes it look easy. He sees what he's up against, and he just does not take any nonsense. I mean, you're doing this on freaking... Literally, you're doing this on the best map for Queen Walks, or one of the best maps. Lightshade is such a short rush distance. It's so easy to get across the map with those Queens, and it feels like Trap just didn't really respect that. Who is paying me on Discord? Alright, so, hey, thank you Apoptosis for the raid. Welcome everybody. It's game 2 of Serral versus Trap. Serral leading 1-0. As we jump into game number 2. So, waiting for our, well, top right will be Trap, bottom left will be Serral on our map 2000 Atmospheres. Bit of a large map. This is not a Queen Walk map. This is the kind of map I would have expected Trap to go for like a Blink following Oracle on. Like, this is the sort of map you can do this on more easily because it just takes longer for the Queens to get to the other side. So, let's see what he alters. Let's see what he does. If he wants to try and do the same, if he wants to go back and do something a little bit differently, he definitely has choices here as to how he approaches this. As you see a hatch gas and maybe soon a spawning pool coming down. Nothing wild to begin with, of course, from Serral. Is obviously forced to take that hatchery off to the side on the third base location. That's pretty much just the norm in PvZ nowadays as well. There was a while where this was a whole discussion. It was like, you know, we talked in depth about it time and time again. We explained it. We were like, oh, will he get it? Yes, he get. Now it's just a given. The Protoss send their probe out so early to disrupt that early Zerg third base location, or natural expansion, which goes to the third base location. Then there's a reason they do it. It's just straight up good. Like, you guys don't really... I don't want to make you guys... Yeah, you guys are clever enough to just see that right when it happens every single time. You don't need to explain anymore. It really is just... yeah, it really is just that much better to have the Zerg working off an off-location hatchery. Well then, as the Cybercore finishes up, an Nexus on the natural of Trap is well on the way as well. So as Warp Gate starts right away, that suggests maybe not a Stargate, but of course we've even been seeing a good few mind games lately around the Stargate. In the sense of that we haven't always seen this kind of Stargate without the Warp Gate, and so you go for a later Stargate, or your opponent not being able to tell exactly what you're up to. And it is going to be Stargate with Warp Gate started, so that's already a bit of a mind game on that Cybercore. Just fixing the bracket in Twitch chat quickly. It was still off last night. But yeah, basically today, guys, round of 8, Serral versus Trap best of 5, and then Zound versus Cure best of 5 to round out the round of 8. That's what's happening here today. Alright, well, we continue to wall off. Another gate comes down. Cybercore coming through. The Stargate on the way still here from Trap, like mentioned. And already changing it up from the last game, going to open with a Void Ray. So Void Ray already on the way out, like I say, something definitely very different to what we have seen before. And this obviously has its own styles and its own ways of being played as well, so that's definitely something for us to watch out for here too. Let's see how this is going to go. We're going to grab the Overlord kill off to the side there. Oracle is just on its way out as a follow-up, so setting up for that right now. That's going to be seeing that Roach Roaring. Going through as well here from Serral. Now, there's a second Stargate from Trap to really tell us a little bit more about what's about to happen here. So, second Stargate getting up and running. The battery coming through. Just going to be seeing a couple of assimilators on the way up. And there's our third Nexus from Trap already starting down too. I mean, very standard stuff, right? The second Stargates. It really gives Trap the option just to go into a lot of Void Rays. We're not seeing a Fleet Beacon or anything, so it's not going to be one of those Carrier first or Tempest early builds, anything like that. And that's not too wild considering it's Trap. I feel like he does like to kind of stay on the kind of the more straightforward kind of normal meta maps or builds. So yeah, going to be a fair few Void Rays, and behind this we see Fortune and Twilight, and typically you do start to take this as just a chance to transition into the ground army with that Void Ray support. And yeah, you kind of just go from there. So that's what we're going to be having for the moment. That's our coming up in the main base. Just going to be having that finished up soon. Extra drones coming in, a couple Overlords on the way out. Evolution Chamber coming down. So I'll just happy to kind of tack up as well. You know, once he's realized he's not being attacked early, that lag gets to come through. And of course, this isn't going to be any kind of early attack from Trap. For now, it's just building those Void Rays. There's a much more passive state of the game. Now, Serral's going to start showing us exactly what sort of game he wants to play as well with that melee upgrade. So, going to be a lot of Ling Bane focus. He showed us this when he played against Spire as well. Okay. He showed us a little bit of this when he played against Sound the other day, where he played a lot of kind of Ling Bane styles and just a lot of overwhelming units. Now, that Spire is pretty fun because you can make 8 or 9 meters against these Voids, and while Voids are okay against the meters, they're not as fast as the meters, so the Voids really can't keep up, so the meters will generally find openings. And the other thing that can happen here is if you scout the Spire as Trap, and then you're like, oh god, I need Phoenix. If you start making Phoenix and Serral just cancels the Spire and starts making a bunch of Roach Ravager, that's a wasted investment as well. So there's a couple of big ways in which this can be changed up, in which this can go. You can see Serral has a lot of backup plans beside the Spire. Bane Nest, Infestation Pit. He's being quite greedy, honestly, with a lot of what he's building. You know, he's building so many tech structures, so many different production setups. The Trap's not doing anything to really punish him for it. As 8 gateways are on the way, maybe there'll be something around that +1 in charge timing. By then, Serral should at least have a decent chance to set up against it, though. So, let's wait and see how he will cope with Trap, if Trap does want to move across. I mean, there's the Prism on the way up, so at the very least, Trap should be poking around, at least seeing, is there an opportunity for me to get something done here? So yeah, eyes open for that at the moment. I was just going to see a couple of additional Archons coming up. All those gateways are going to be finishing. Just going to see again the Voids are going to take down an Overlord. Just nice scouting here from Serral, right? Just confirming, keeping up to date with everything that's happening, making sure nothing slips by him without being noticed. And here we go. At least a bit of a push coming out of Trap now, Serral. Right now, 8 Roaches and 9 Lings on the map and 84 drones. Like, he has gone balls to the wall. Absolute greed mode. There has been no slowing down from Serral building up and setting up in this situation. Can he actually get units out to defend? The first few Banes are morphing. He's got a lot of Queens. They're going to help against the Void, sure, but then the Zealots? Well, these first few Banes trying to waddle forward, but the Zealots obviously pretty much stay out of range of those as Trap. I really do think Serral's in some trouble here, right? He basically only has Queens left over. What else is he even going to be building right now? More Roaches? Just don't think that's going to cut it, and Trap shows up with this deadly attack timing. As Serral really did just go into a bit of everything. He was really, really greedy, as mentioned before, and now this greed is being punished. This attack from Trap is clean, it's crisp, it's got a little bit of everything that it needs. And Serral just does not have a way to hold this off. Again, just way too many drones, too many tech structures. And what army did he really have? Some slow waddling banelings? Yeah. This did not come together at all here for Serral, and Trap is going to push through to tie the series up. Both players so far picking up a win early with some nice nice aggressive play, basically. As we watch Serral trying to mount some roaches to create a defense, but there's no queens here. There's still a couple of void rays up and running. They're putting good damage out. A couple of queens come forward, attempting to take down the voids, but the Prism just keeps bringing new units in. Prism even has High Templar in the War Prism right now. Not sure. We don't have a production tab open right now. Sorry, it's just the clean feed that's not showing it, guys. So, not sure if Storm was ready or available or what. Or what those maybe warped in High Templar Morph Archons didn't get the chance. Anyway, now he's going to warp in a bunch more High Templar. We'll morph those into Archons. We got a production tab back as well. Yeah, I assume he just morphed in High Templars, was like, oh crap, the army's on top of me, let's just back away. Serral turns it around, but he's mass roaches against, I mean, you can just see what's rebuilding. And you can also just see the greed of Serral right now. The fact that he's on his way to Ultralisk Cavern after this attack just shows you all of the tech he invested into before this as well. And as you see, our Void Rays clean up a little bit. These queens come through, and they're going to go jumping straight on top of a Void Ray to at least get a kill. I mean, Serral's alive, but is he really alive? I mean, it's tough. He lost a base. He does have 4 bases still coming out of this. So, I mean, there are ways in which Serral stays alive in this moment. GG's. And Trap's going to tie this up 1-1. Just like that. GG's. And it is 1-1 in this best of 5 series. That's kind of what we wanted. Serral, green walked and won. Trap took advantage of Serral being a little bit too greedy and won. So we get 1-1. We're going to game number 3. Looks like Trap will start bottom left and Serral will begin upper right. And I believe this is the beautiful map of Oxide. At a glance at the main bases. Am I crazy? I don't think so. Maybe I am. Oh, it's Jagannatha. That does make sense as well. It's kind of weird trying to play guess the map from just looking at a very small portion of it, right? And I know the main bases are kind of obvious, but yeah, it kind of felt like Oxide for me. I was like yellowy map. I don't think of Jagannatha as a yellowy map, right? I think of Jagannatha as kind of more of a green map, right? Because of the middle of the map and so on. But I guess actually up at the top it is very kind of golden and what do you call that golden? I mean just golden gray, right? The gray slabs. I don't know what it's made of. I'd say like concrete or something, but I'm sure it's more advanced than that in this wonderful world of Starcraft. So Jagannatha for game number 3. Well, I mean the things to watch out for in this map are going to be once again the rush distance. It's pretty short to get across because of those acceleration zones. You can go from top right to bottom left of this map quickly if you want to push early and take advantage of, you know, potential an early attack. Otherwise, you can take a lot of bases. You can take bases easily, too, so you can play that Stargate Void Ray kind of style as Trap played last time. I mean, you can end up in the later game here on Jagannatha. You just, if you're Serral, you just can't be that greedy setting up into it, otherwise you will be punished for it, as we just saw. So, something to absolutely watch out for. As we settle down for this game 3. Waiting to see what the tech will be. Obviously, Cybercore will finish, and that'll give us a bit of an idea as to how this is going to go in this third map. So at least get us an idea of if it's going to be a Stargate opener, which I do think a lot of the openings here from Trap will be Stargate focused. I don't think that's really too crazy, right? But it's still a question, right? And it's also Stargate before, after Warpgate. That does change your timings of things a little bit too, and the mind games and. You know, lots of the little bits and pieces. I was actually looking at the history of these two, and Trap has won their last 2 meetings, and both of those in 2021. The 1-0, the Champions Brawl, it was just a best of 1, and a 4-3 in the last chance event finals. That's what I mentioned at the start of the cast. But before then, Serral 2-1, 3-1, 1-0, 4-2, 3-0, 3-1, 2-0, 3-2. Trap has only ever beaten Serral this year. And while I know that obviously suggests maybe Trap is in a better shape to beat Serral than ever before, I do still think that in general, Serral's ZvP has been of the highest quality, but so is Trap's PvZ, right? And that's what's so, brilliant about getting to watch these games. As this time, by the way, it was a Twilight and a Robo. So that Warp Gate starting up right away, he did that last time and went Stargate, so that doesn't give you any information as Serral if you were there to watch for it. He actually isn't. His Overlord's quite far back at the moment, so pulling that back, keeping that away. As the Robo facility comes on through, and we set up for the Glaives opening. So Trap trying to play a bit of the mind game, trying to get Serral to misread the situation and react incorrectly. See if you'll be able to do that. As so far, Serral, it's coming up to about the time when he needs to start realizing what's going on. He needs to start recognizing, right, okay, I'm going to need a Roach Roar, and I'm going to need something more than just Zerglings to defend against this upcoming attack, right? And there's the Roach Roar. In fact, that Roach Roar is nicely timed. Considering the first warp in with this build happens between 4:25 and 4:30 usually, if it's on time. The Roach Roar at 350 to 355 is pretty much spot on for it finishing as the warp in happens, so Roaches build. They're out for the, the additional warp in of the depths, basically, for the second warp in across the map. This is 5 gates, though, from Trap, a little bit more aggressive. We've been seeing a few Protoss players cranking out 5 gateways with the Glaive builds. Showtime did it a bunch against Reyno yesterday. It just gives you a little bit of extra oomph, and especially if you, sneak the Warp Prism off to the main base, then you really get an extra little bit of, kapow! Because then you're not just warping in those 4 depths to 5 depths, and I know it's just one difference, but it really does feel like a lot. So here we go. The attack itself will be a bit later because you're investing into the extra gateway. So I mentioned that first warp in 425 to 430. That doesn't quite happen. It's a bit later than that. But you have the extra depths. They're going to stack up a little bit more. Serral on 38 drones. He really is set up well to defend this. Now he just needs to execute the defense. It's always tricky against these adepts. You got to guess where they're going to shade to. You got to, split your units properly. As now 2 queens, 3 queens already going to go down. Are you going to commit to that shade? No way, because you'd rather keep fighting on this low ground. And Serral losing a fair few units there. Just remember that Trap is going to have very slow tech out of this. He really doesn't have a lot of options in what to build going beyond this, and those adepts did start dropping heavily in the last few moments. Losing quite a few there toward the very end. Okay, well, Serral kind of holds this off. Trap now building an Immortal, which suggests that he wants to go into a follow-up attack. He doesn't have an intention of a third base. He doesn't have intentions of kind of playing a longer game for the most part here. The Immortal could just be defensive initially. He does start to build a couple of probes at least. Let's see, he does send a worker out to the third as well, so maybe there will be a third Nexus in play from Trap. There it is actually going to line on up. So the Immortal's just for defensive purposes. Serral is going to scout this third base immediately, by the way. He immediately now knows, right, you're building a third base, I know what you're doing, I know what you're getting up to. In theory, Serral is extremely well prepared to now start teching up himself. Lair on the way, Eva Chamber coming down. He doesn't just have to prepare for another attack, he can prepare for the future. As these adepts do kind of walk past the queens, which wanted the prism. They get into a little corner there, and the Ling's going to take a while to clean them up, and Serral just has no good way. Well, yeah, cancel the Spore Crawler, I guess. He had Spores, obviously, in case of a DT follow-up. That's not the case, so canceling that isn't the end of the world. But it is more of a safety thing than anything else. 2 adepts here. They're going to get some more drones. This is really good damage. It's just adding up over time at the moment. 10, 11 workers going down, and this only costs you a couple of adepts, so Serral, you can see, not happy with that after the initial defense was good for keeping drones alive. Now he's a little bit sad because he just lost 11 drones to 4 adepts, and that ain't a lot of adepts to give up for the amount of damage that was just found. Units will try and move through here. Serral's going to get a little bit of a look, sees the Adept Immortal. Probe's still being built by Trap, but not super consistently. He definitely wants to make something of this incoming attack. Serral on 49 workers. Imagine he didn't lose those 11. Imagine if he just lost any less, right? They've been so much better for him. He starts making Spine Crawlers. Bane Nest on the way, but not in time to actually get Banelings up to deal with these Adepts. And now Stalker's warping in too. Serral's also about to lose an Overlord. He has got 2 more on the way, so maybe not the end of the world on the Overlord, but he needs a defense right now, and it's going to be tough. Remember, those Adepts can shade around if they want to as well. I mean, now you've got Baneling Nest ready, but do you really have the time to morph the Banelings? Not really. So the Lings is going to come in. They do go to the right side where the Stalkers and Immortal, rather than kind of wrapping around the Adepts, which are going to be really good against those. But the 3 Immortals, these Roaches are just going to keep on melting, right? And now an extra round of Adepts warping in. Serral needs to fall back a little bit to get a few more reinforcements, but Trap He really did. Them extra 11 drones definitely just hurt Serral that much extra, and yeah, now Serral is struggling to find the defense that he needs here, and it looks as though Trap might be able to make this one work out. With the Adept Immortal continuing through, Roaches are being pushed back. We do see the Lynx kind of shading forward, or stepping forward, a few more units warping in. Serral trying to keep this pinned back and away from his bases, but yeah, I mean, just the things like the Baneling Nest not being 10, 15 seconds sooner, maybe then you could have had Banelings to help with the Adepts, maybe that could have made a big difference. This fight right now is going decently. The problem is those Immortals are just never going to drop, right? Immortals just survive forever, and you know, that really is an issue, is the units of Serral run out of steam, they run out of numbers. And it looks as though Trap's going to take the 2-1 lead in this best of 5, looking to make the semifinals of the NetEase Esports X tournaments. Serral taps out of the game. A single G, guys. Drama burn. No, guys, I don't think it's very dramaful. I think it's okay. GG's, and Serral drops another map. So Trap wins 2. Trap, good builds, good execution, clean builds. Just what we kind of know Trap for, right? Really just knows what he's getting up to, knows what he's going for, knows what he needs to do a lot of the time. Ain't messing around. Hey, Stefan Blake, very quickly, thank you so much for the 13-month resub on the Prime. Appreciate it, buddy. Over 1 year now. Love the content. Thank you so much. Alright, game number 4 as we kick this off. In the top right, it's going to be Mr. Trap. In the bottom left, it will be Serral. And this time we do go into Oxide. And how did I get Jagannath's main base confused with Oxide? Oxide is just so rubbly and it's just like a wasteland in comparison. I don't know what I was thinking. I feel like I got caught up on the top right, bottom left. It's like, oh, that's the Oxide spawns. Well, Wardy, next time we're going to try and think a little bit before we speak. Alright, so 4th map here. Serral, no room for errors any longer, especially with the way that Trap is playing, right? When he's playing this aggressive, clean-cut style, you just can't afford mistakes. Like, it's just as simple as that. The moment you go a bit too greedy, the moment you let a couple too many drones go down, Trap is on your front door. Trap is in your base. Trap is just killing all your units. So you just can't allow for that to happen. You got to be on point at every step of this game. Now, Serral has de-hoodied, guys. He's taking the hoodie off, so maybe things are getting serious here as we settle down in this 4th map. Of course, Serral is our last foreign player standing. Last non-Korean standing. As Clem fell to Maru yesterday in pretty unspectacular fashion, and as I was saying, Kua was one of the players to get rid of Reno in the group stage, and then Reno also lost out to Solus, so he was another one of the Europeans to watch for. Trap, by the way, barely made it into these playoffs. I mean, remember that Trap initially lost out to Hero Marine in the groups, got knocked down to the lower bracket of his group. That's why he only finished up in 2nd place of his group. That's why he had to end up against Serral. He finished 1st in his group. In the end, Trap got revenge on Hero Marine in a pretty close series. But yeah, just remember that. Trap went from not looking like he was in too good a shape initially, and having Hero Marine kind of messing him around. Now this, up 2-1 against Serral in the quarterfinals. Kind of hoping Serral gives us 5 games. Hope he gets at least the 5th game here. Just because I want to enjoy some good games in these playoffs, guys. Yesterday's games, honestly, were not that great. We've seen better. So yeah. Kind of hoping we get something cool here, you know. Game 5 would be nice. That's the Twilight Council real early in the game, and this one single Zergling is gonna ruin Trap's plan. What a scout from Serral, straight into the main, sees the Twilight instantly, and Trap is now instantly figured out. So Serral, well, let's see what he does from here. I wonder what Trap wanted to do with that Twilight so early. Glaive starts. Yeah, maybe it was Glaives all along, but now he cancels Glaives and adds on a gateway. 2 gateways. No Robo, though, yet, right? Kind of felt like maybe he wanted to go Dark Shrine. As, yeah, 2 gates and now going into Glaives. So this is going to be a real old-school opening, which is just 3-gate Glaives. There's no Prism or Robo facility or anything. It's a 3-gate Glaives pressure. Like I say, this is kind of an old-school build, and Serral is just going to drop the Roach Rowan immediately. The thing is, if you see this so early as Serral, what you can do is just Roach Ling all-in into it. Because a Roach Ling all-in that's committed into it from the early stages when you know that you've just got your opponent on a Twilight Council that early, it's just powerful, right? It's just really, really good. It's very hard to stop with just the Glaive Adept. So let's see how aggressive Serral wants to be. As the gas income is rolling along, his first roaches will start to build right away. 39 drones, Overlords coming through. It definitely looks as though we're just going to build roaches and nothing more. A couple lings already scouting around. That ling speed in play for them to help to figure out what's going on here. See what's happening. Serral will start a lair behind this Ling Roach that he's made. So it looks like a bit of Ling Roach, then a lair to follow up and to tech up a little bit. Glaives is now done, and Trap is coming across the map. What the other thing Serral could have done here is he could have maybe gone for like an overwhelming amount of units and then clean this up, let them shade into your base, clean them up, and then counterattack. In the end, it just looks like this isn't Roach laying or attacking aggression at all. It's just cleaning up those adepts. That is very early preparation for this. So he really just said super early on, right, defend, prepare, and then I'm going to drone up and make the economy after. So not going to get too aggressive at the end of the day. Just wanted to shut down the adepts easily and move on. And that's what he'll do with the lair finishing. Bane Nest is on the way, so we're going to have the Banelings added to this composition as well. Let's see, those devs going to try to shade through again, but Serral is scary enough with the units being right on top of them. That Trap will just decide not to commit to that. Again, just from Trap being scouted so soon, I mean, Serral takes no damage, but because he prepared so cautiously for these adepts, now you can just see he's never been even able to take a worker lead or anything off this, right? Despite Trap not dealing any damage. Which means right now, the moment adepts start dealing damage is the moment you're in trouble as Serral. I wonder, has there been no chance at all for Serral to counterattack the third base? I feel like there might have been with a few lings, and maybe that's what he's toying with the idea of now, but now obviously it feels like there's maybe more chance of it happening, of, you know, that third base being defended. That's going to threaten the shade in over here again. Even if you're just losing a drone each time, it really does become expensive, that shade, and if it gets in and kills workers, like, you know, a few times over. You gotta be really cautious about that. You can't just let that happen again and again. Gotta really be on top of it. Hallucination shades up from the top side. I'm gonna see a few gates coming in, Immortal +1 attack, and Blink all coming through. And yeah, melee upgrade, Bane speed, Roach speed. Just everything that Serral wants to play kind of this Ling Bane Roach Ravager style. Now Trap says let's go Robo Bay. Yep, for a moment I didn't see the Robo Bay stars, like, did I just see things? But no, Robo Bay is on the way up there. So, by going in toward the Robo Bay right now, you're basically saying, right, I want to get in toward my Disruptors, and that's going to give you a lot of defensive ability against the Zerg, especially against early attacks. What I do wonder is, what does it do against later attacks? Usually Disruptors are great against the initial, like, Roach Queen Wargs. Against, like an 80-drone Roach Ling Bane army, I actually don't like the Disruptors as much. In this case, Serral is just 66 drones, taking a 4th base now. We'll see if he drones up beyond this. So 66 drones and finishing up Bane speed. It's time for him to go if he wants to get aggressive, which it kind of feels like he does to some extent. Because even if he wanted to drone a 4th base, he could have started droning already, and that 4th base would have finished, and the drones would have been ready to just go straight to it. He starts droning now. Maybe he was just afraid of attack from Trap, as Trap actually ends up going to Colossi. Now, Zound did something similar to this the other day when Colossi against Serral, and what Serral did against it was he just got up to that hive and he had Vipers out. Whether he'll get Vipers out before a Colossus-focused attack comes around for him, well, that's a whole new question, and that one I'm not actually too sure about. So 2 Robo-Colossi will help a lot against the Lings, etc. Yeah, a very different way of setting up here from Trap, something very unique, as Serral out of position to the far left side. He's going to lose the bottom right base. Not the end of the world, because obviously you're mining from the left side base, so, you know, when it comes to your 4th, this isn't really it, and you can lose the 5th right now. A little bit of lava problems maybe created as you're playing kind of Ling Bane, right? So you are using a lot of lava, so it's not great to be losing your production, but, I mean, it could be much worse, as he deals with these adepts pretty nicely as well. Only a couple shading out alive elsewhere, so that's pretty important too, I think. As now Ling Bane Roach Ravager comes around. It's going to start heading around the right-hand side. Looks like it's going to make its way up the right. The Bane run by gets found instantly, so Serral gets caught right there. Will not be able to make a move up towards Trap's third base, which is unfortunate for Serral. Really good shutdown from Trap. It does pull Trap's army around defensively for a bit, though, as, yeah, that one Adept didn't really have much hope, did it? Trap's just like, I don't need Adepts anymore. These aren't meant to be part of my army. I'm just going to get rid of you. Sorry, buddy. You served me well when your time was right, but your time is absolutely past at this point in time. There's the Trap moving along the right side of the field lanes, being picked away at. I mean, he's going to start establishing that fourth base. Hive nearly done here from Serral. He might need to take one fight without Vipers, but if he does take a fight without Vipers, the good news is it'll be on creeps. So he will at least have that advantage of the speedier units and being able to wrap around more easily. Now, he's going to go in now. He's going to force the force fields, and he's got the Banes wrapping around the other side. Corrosive Files felt a little slow, guys, to actually hit the force fields there, as a few Banes just kind of make their way up. That was an alright fight. It felt as though, like I say, the bars didn't hit the force fields very quickly, but yeah, Trap used a lot of his force fields. And again, a lot of what Serral's doing now, in my eyes, was to kind of buy time for the Vipers, but when Hive finishes, he starts Adrenal Glands. He doesn't even go for Vipers just yet, but against 4 Colossi, the splash damage they provide, it just feels like Vipers are what you need at the moment, right? If you can abduct those Vipers into your army, you can make your life so much easier. The additional Banes finish morph, and we're going to split up this army and get ready to fight. Good force field to start us off. The Baals come through, and now the Banes make it in. This time these sentries are all going down. He lifts up a Colossus defensively. Other Banes wrapping around from the other side. I mean, one of the Colossi goes down. Trap needs to micro the other Colossi. 2, 3 Colossi going down. Trap is messing up the micro a lot. He just picked up a Stalker instead of a Colossus. He blinks on top of these Ravages, but Serral's going to be streaming Lings in as the reinforcements, and they are going to trade wonderfully against these Stalkers. Trap's micro there was messed up, lifting up a single Stalker instead of a Colossus. These Colossi should have lasted longer. They should have had some more shots, and the difference that makes is huge, because having the few Colossi against the reinforcing Lings basically makes this army of Trap just successful again, right? It can mean that it actually survives the Ling reinforcements. That was not it for Trap. Just got completely caught up, and he really, like I say, he misclicked on a Stalker instead of a Colossus, and I think that messed him up the rest of the way as well, because then, with the Stalker in the Prism, he wasn't able to pick up another Colossus, and he's like, wait, why is my Colossus not in? That moment of confusion makes one little misclick so much more deadly. Wow, okay, well, Serral takes a great spot in this game now, and I was worried for Serral. You know, there's a point in this fight where the supplies were 170 against 170, but he got done what he needed to get done. Trap's going to try and counterattack with the War Prism and keep Serral at home. Serral's going to start a Viper, which, like I've been talking about, I've been kind of hyped to see the Viper, because I really believe it's going to be a big, big thing for Serral. I do think it's going to be a good answer for him. This Ling Roach Ravager comes back around the side. I mean, game settles down for a few moments, and Serral's just going to max out, but then Serral's going to start getting aggressive. He wants to start throwing units at his opponent's base. He wants to start keeping Trap pinned back and able to move around and stuff. Those are all the kind of things you want to be aiming for here as Serral. So yeah, he's kind of got freedom to play now, right? And you know, you can even play it slowly with the Vipers up and so on. You can obviously bring the Vipers in and use those. Just one at a time, like an abduct here and abduct there. You can just slowly chip away at your opponent. Lots of options right now for Serral, basically, and Trap has just got to play mega defense mode. He's on trying to get up to Storm. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's just, will you actually get to Storm? That's the question mark on that one. And personally, guys, I kind of think he probably won't make it. You know, I just got a feeling that Serral, well, if he gets to Storm, he might get to Storm, but Serral's going to be more than prepped to deal with a Storm, right? Like, he's going to have Ultras coming out, so he's going to have units in his army that aren't affected as much by Storm. His composition's just going to be that much improved. Obviously, just sitting above the army. Just cleaned out. Spire on the way, a few spine crawlers coming through. We do have the Storm about to finish up. I think Serral is just really preparing for the late game. He defended in the mid game. He did what he needed to do to get to the later stages. And now he puts himself in a, like I say, freedom to do what he wants. And while he's maybe not being as aggressive as I thought he would be, a little bit of a run by on the left side, gets deflected. He is keeping Trap on 4 bases. No 5th base allowed. You know, we're 14 minutes in this game. It is time to think about base 5. As Serral sits on 6 bases of his own. And that's the thing, too. Just no run bys or anything from Trap. Trap is going to have a maxed out army. And Serral's going to have a good setup to deal with it. And reinforcement potential, too. Parasite Bomb, I believe, just on an observer there. Parasite Bomb obviously just killed. I mean, Roddy saw that for the first time. I felt like the first time in a long time. The other day when we were casting TSL or something, and we kind of both laughed and giggled a little bit. I think it might have been DreamHack even. Someone Parasite bombed an observer. Might have even been Serral, right? Ooh, the Storm Drop lands on a lot of the Ling Bane. Well, that's definitely an effective way to play if you can get a few storms off like that. Dangerous game, though, because if that Prism gets dragged in... Well, actually, what happens if the Prism gets dragged in? Not a lot. There's no anti-air from Serral, right? So it's not like you can target fire down the Prism. There's one Storm left available maybe in that Prism. One High Templar, as we do see this fight happening. On creep as well. I mean, good setup for the fight from Trap initially, and Trap is absolutely winning this fight. Serral did not have what he needed to fight this at all. He's going to run a few Banes in on their own right now, but this is not going to do it, and Trap's just going to push on through. Wow, GG from Serral in this game number 4, which he was not really in the lose, right? Trap wasn't really meant to win that one. But Serral just took a couple storms ahead of the fight, and he didn't really do anything to stop Trap, and his army was still the same. The Vipers got feedbacked, and there just wasn't really the units in play that you needed there as Serral to actually fight